when you walk into a room, you are not the smartest, you're not the most beautiful, you're not the tallest, you're not the shortest, but you're the most you. So always step in with value, listen to perspectives that are different from yours, and then build two very big skills, which is critical thinking and logic. And the reason it's so important is so that you can process information and data in a way that's not tied to cultural norms.
Welcome to another episode of the Journey to C-Suite podcast. This is a podcast made for ambitious professionals who want to make it to C-Suite. And today, I have a very special guest with me, a sales leader who has gone far and wide. And she's currently a managing partner at Placid and also at Good for Balance. If you haven't subscribed, please do that right away. Share with your friends, don't be stingy. Right? Like and comment. We want to read your thoughts. Hi, Napa.
Hey, Titi, how are you?
I'm very well. Thank you for making it.
I couldn't say no to you.
Thank you.
Honestly.
Thank you. I'm blushing. Yeah, it's so exciting to have you here. And I'm super thrilled that you're here because you're a sales leader, a sales force, right? In literally someone I really do respect when it comes to revenue-related topics, sales and all. And I'm super thrilled that you're here because I'm going to learn a lot directly from you. And I'm sure the audience are going to learn a lot as well. But then getting right into it, before we deep into everything, tell us who Napa is beyond a professional bio. Because everybody has LinkedIn, right?
Of course. Yeah. So thank you for having me, Titi, and really excited to be here, like genuinely, not fake. So well done on this platform you're building. I think it's such a great place for people to come and share their journeys and to let people know it's not always easy.
No, it's not.
No, it's not. So when people look at, like you said, my LinkedIn bio, people will look at it and see all the amazing companies and not really know the journey that went in behind. So really excited to unpack that. And then outside what you see on LinkedIn, what people usually tell me, and I resonate with this greatly, is that I build stuff. So whether it's building people by supporting them in any way I can, or building businesses, that's kind of what I do. And if you look at all the places I've worked, I'm so proud of the fact that every single business I built is still doing very well. So understanding how to build the right foundation for things is, I don't know if that's the answer you were looking for, or did you want something more personal?
That's part of it.
Okay.
So we know you're a builder, you enjoy building.
Yes.
And you have a fantastic legacy because a lot of people build stuff, right, genuinely with so much work, they put it all that into it, and then a few years down the line, those things no longer exist. Sometimes it's not their fault, right? Life just happens to businesses, and you want to look back and look at the things you've done, and there's no trace. But there's a lot of work. This is a very amazing legacy. But then let us know what your background is like, educational background, and a little bit of family.
Okay. So I'm actually an ambassador's kid. The same way people say a pastor's kid. An ambassador's kid, we have a different kind of lens we see life through, because when your father or your mother, whoever, one of your parents is an ambassador, you don't stay in a country for a long time. So you don't start school at the beginning of term, you don't leave at the end of term. So you may come in maybe the second term in the middle week, and then you stay for a year and a half, and then you leave. Or sometimes you come and you only spend 3 years and you don't really make friends. So there's a different lens you see life through, and it's impacted my siblings. I have 5 siblings, 2 sisters, 3 brothers. Each of my sisters has a set of twins. I have a set of twins.
Oh wow!
Honestly, like we all inherited the twin gene, the girls, but the boys didn't. And it impacted us differently. So this background has really helped me because I'm able to relate to different cultures very easily. But it has also made me feel very attached to Nigeria. So I always tell people that if you cut me, I'll bleed green. So I'm very patriotic. I believe in the future of Nigeria. I really believe in this country. And some of my other siblings have kind of laid their roots in other countries. So being an ambassador's kid really does shape you in a way that staying in one location your whole life doesn't.
So that gives you an experience a lot of people just have to get by themselves after like age 30 when it starts to get to the point where they can now travel. That's really interesting and very rich. You're like a Nepo baby.
Oh yeah. So funny story you should say that, because I'm actually writing a book called The Self-Made Nepo Baby, because the day I graduated, my parents stopped supporting me, and that is how all of us are brought up. So the day you graduate, no, you don't get anything. You don't get a car. I think the first 2 kids got a car, or the first 3.
Oh wow, let me change your mind.
But you don't get a car. You don't get any referrals to any jobs. Like my father would never, ever. He would never do a note for you. In fact, when I was getting into university, my name wasn't on the primary list. That's when we had supplementary lists for jobs. My dad said I should go and sort it out, that I should go and do it myself. And our close family friend's daughter was having problems getting into university. And my dad went to school. He went to school and he got her in. So we were brought up in a very strange way. And my dad passed about 10 years ago, and we still miss him greatly. But one of the things my father always told us, both the girls and the boys, is that when you walk into a room, you are not the smartest, you're not the most beautiful, you're not the tallest, you're not the shortest, but you're the most you. So always step in with value. And I love the fact that he put that in all of us, both the girls and the boys, because he instilled in us such a desire for excellence, such a desire to do more, such a desire to find your way in this world and do it yourself. Hard work, discipline. And all of us are like that. Like when people say I'm accomplished, I'm like, I'm not. If you put me next to my siblings, no. I haven't arrived. Yeah. And it's my dad and my mom that really did such a great job in instilling that hard work, discipline in us.
As much as they might not have maybe supported in the regular African sense, the truth is they already give like the building blocks that you needed, and they had that much confidence in the things that they had embedded in all of you, and then that just gave them the peace of mind that, you know what, they'll be fine. So that's, I feel like
it didn't feel that way, Titi.
No, you won't feel that way.
It didn't feel that way.
See, as somebody that had to like do a lot of things
on your own,
I know what it feels like.
Wow.
Trust me.
You feel like you're swimming in an ocean.
At some point, it felt like, why do I have to do that?
Yes.
Why?
Yes.
Why me?
Yeah.
Right? But then, some years down the line, you appreciate all the lessons and all of the skills that phase in your life instills in you.
True.
Right? Because by the time you get to the certain points, you're not really the same with your peers. There's certain skills that you've gotten on your way here that will now become strength.
Yeah.
Right? Yes, it's really impressive. So then, you're sales leader, right? Kicking off your journey, started in really reputable companies. You've worked with AWS, you've worked with the top of the top, the people that everybody's aspiring to work with now. You've worked with all of those guys. Now let's take it back to when you moved from mid-level to senior level. Your first sales leadership role. What was that like?
A disaster.
So I'm not special.
It was legit a disaster. Like I believe one of the things that really helped me was I had a great mentor. Nice. And she was a vice president at Cisco. So I was the first female manager at Cisco. And the people that there are lots of firsts. There are lots of firsts in my journey. There's so many firsts. I was the first Black leader for Google GCS covering Sub-Saharan Africa. I was the first Black female leader for Amazon Web Services for Middle East, Africa, and Turkey. Now listen to the regions: female, Black, Nigerian. So I was I'm very used to being in rooms where I'm maybe the only female or the only Black person, or in a lot of cases the only Nigerian. And I'm very grateful that in my first management role, there was a woman in Cisco, and she was a vice president, and she recognized talent in me when I didn't see it myself. Nice. So she asked me if she could mentor me. I was handling one of the biggest deals in Europe, Middle East, and Africa at that time. So I was getting a lot of visibility, but because I was a hard worker, I was just focusing on closing out the deal. And she said, I would love it if we could have regular sessions. What she was asking is she wanted to mentor me. And I didn't know what to say. I didn't even know how to prepare for those sessions. I was really, really green. And when it was time for an opportunity for me to move up, she advocated for me. She sponsored me in the room.
Sponsor and a mentor in one.
In one.
Lucky.
Yeah, really. Like, I still give her props and kudos for what she did. And then when I was having challenging issues, I would be able to bring it to her. So transitioning to leadership it can be a mind switch for a lot of people, because you probably transition because you are a high performer.
Yes.
You are a high individual contributor. You know how to get stuff done. And then you're always hitting your targets and missing your targets. Now you're leading a team that has different personalities. There are people that have uneven performance. How do you do it? There's a lot of psychology in leadership.
Yeah, I agree.
A lot of it. And you have to learn it, and you have to lead from the front. So you are the one that sets the direction. You're the one that motivates. You're the one that inspires. You're the one that takes the very hard decisions. And I almost feel that having that mentor helped me recognize where I was weak. Because a lot of times we talk about mentors showing us the way, but actually what my mentor helped me do was identify the areas that needed improvement to meet the pressure of being a leader, especially leading Nigerian men that are older than you.
Tell me
and have
about it.
children that are older than you.
And I'm married.
You know. And one actually, I remember, actually had the effrontery to call my husband.
What?
I'm not joking. Like, man, actually, I'm a survivor. So he had done something, and I had given him the feedback that it was incorrect. And I think because I am a very empathetic leader, but sometimes people do mistake the fact that to be at the level I am, there is a level of strength and muscle that comes with it. So I can, when needed, bring down the gavel. And I did quite strongly on him. And I think it frightened him a bit, even though I was very clear, empathetic, feedback with the right scenarios, right information. And he picks up the phone and he calls my husband. And my husband says, I have no idea what you're talking about. And he hangs up on him because he's like, Napa,
I love that.
What is this? So, you know, going through those kind of unique scenarios that are Nigerian, I had quite a number of them in my first leadership role.
Interesting. Very interesting experiences. Wow. So now moving from, getting into leadership role and then doing that a number of times, and then moving to sales leadership beyond Nigeria, like on global front, top companies. What were the skills that you needed, or what were the skills that you had that helped you? One. Two, what were the skills that you had to get, right, to not just to thrive in those roles?
Yeah. There's so many, right? But I feel for people that are moving into roles that involve more than the countries they are comfortable with, you do have to have a global mindset. Yeah. And a global mindset just means that you are able to be curious about other cultures and their ways of doing business and be open-minded enough to adopt those perspectives.
Even if you don't understand them.
Even if you don't understand them, right? I've seen it a lot for us Nigerians when we are in rooms where there are people from different cultures. It's almost like we want to force the way we behave on them because we're just so strong-willed.
I'm guilty.
We're just so strong. So, like, an example was I was leading a team in a country that wasn't in Nigeria. There's this very specific way they behave, right? Especially for immigrants that are in that country. So I was dealing with an immigrant that was in the country and the country was not Nigerian, it wasn't even African. I had to understand the way he processed information. So for him, there were a lot of challenges he had. He had challenges with being documented. He had challenges with performance reviews because the performance review meant more to him because if he was fired, it would impact him, it would impact his family. So empathy, I always say empathy in leadership is so important as well in global roles, not sympathy. So you move away from the yeah-ness to actually understanding. So I needed to understand his situation. And once I understood his situation, he was carrying a very significant portfolio. I had to make sure he felt safe in receiving feedback that wasn't positive. So he wouldn't feel that the feedback will impact his status. So the only way I could do that is if I understood his peculiar sentiment. Now, if you're a Nigerian and you've never been an immigrant, you'd be like, what was that? Why are you afraid? Why are you scared? Yeah, so you put the systems in place to support them. That's why global perspectives come in. And I really encourage people to be able to read widely. Listen widely and broadly. So listen to perspectives that are different from yours, and then build two very big skills, which is critical thinking and logic. These are two very important skills. And the reason it's so important is so that you can process information and data in a way that's not tied to cultural norms. So being able to hear things, see things, reason through these things, not with the gaze of I'm a Nigerian Igbo woman, because that is how you would process it, because that is your natural culture. That's why you need critical reasoning and logic. So I'm able to see a problem and walk through it and problem solve with that global mindset. So I think that's really important. And it was what another great person that saw me and said, Napa, I really want you to come and lead my team across Sub-Saharan Africa. And then now I stepped out of Sub-Saharan Africa to Europe and the Middle East as well. It was that ability to be not biased, right? And a lot of leaders feel that they are not biased, but they really are.
We all think we're not biased.
We really are.
Until we're in institutions where the light is shown on us, and then those biases are brought to light.
Yes. So you incorporate feedback in your leadership, especially feedback from your team. So my team does. I do feedback as I lead. So I use a framework called 2x2 feedback. 2 things I'm doing well, 2 things I'm not doing well. Anytime I do a 1-to-1, I'm like, hey, give me feedback. And in the beginning, they're very hesitant because they're like, is it going to come out in my performance review and all those kind of things? But over time, they become more and more comfortable giving me the feedback. So your team members that are not a part of the kind of culture you have can come into those meetings and say, Napa, in Kenya, we are more sensitive to these words. Oh, thank you so much. I'm going to take that on board. And then you make sure you incorporate it. So you just become so skilled at different cultures and communication and managing teams from different areas and countries that are not yours.
That's really interesting. 2x2. I'm going to incorporate that.
Yeah, it's quick and very effective.
I think it's one of the fastest ways to actually absorb these things that you're not used to. As somebody myself that is stepping out of just relating with my own country, like teams in my own country, to now having to lead teams in other countries, I can completely, relate to everything that you just said. And this is a very good way to also absorb their own culture and also step into the way they see things. And this is extremely interesting.
And then you have networks in those countries, right? So I always have informal chats. I try and meet a new person every week. Yeah, no, it's not hard. It's 30 minutes. Legit. You try and meet a new person every week. So this week that just ended, I met somebody from Portugal. So you can have conversations. Hey, I see that for the first time your temperatures dropped. They say, yeah, in Portugal, and they're giving you insight about the country, about the culture, and it's not what you would search for online, using ChatGPT or online.
I agree.
Yeah. So those kind of things also insights that people can give you in conversation, and it helps you build your network. So you actually do become a global citizen, able to have conversations with many people. So imagine if I meet somebody from Lisbon or one part of Portugal next week, I'll be like, hey, I heard temperatures dropped.
And they'll be like,
yeah, she's on point. She's
she knows us.
She knows us. And then it instantly creates trust. It creates that openness. And then you're able to bring that back into your leadership. And when you are in those meetings with your peers, you are bringing insights that they can't get. Because, as we talk about leading the team, we don't really focus a lot on leading up, because that's a huge part of your job as a leader as well, with your peers and then your N+1 or your N+2, your skip level managers and all those kind of things.
Very interesting. And these chats, they are so underestimated. The point that certain things that you can't find online, you get from it. I was speaking to somebody, I met someone in a community from Botswana. the founder in Botswana, and he's really involved in the tech ecosystem there. It changes. It's quite young, so they're investing in it to get as big as they have in other countries. And just an hour chat, he shared so much that a lot of shocking things. But when I was sharing with my team, they're really wild.
You see?
Things that I would, because Botswana is, how many people are in that country? That's like the first thing I think of, right? And he shared a lot of insightful things that changed the way that I view that country completely, right? So yeah, I think I would incorporate this, trying to meet somebody every week. Very interesting. You talked about building, your love for building companies, people, and you talk about working with companies, building companies that years down the line, they're still in existence. What are the strategies that you've seen that are very, very beneficial to the sustainability of a company, of a business long term? And what are the things that you've seen that are threats to sustainability of a company?
So when I, just to clarify, so when I talk about building businesses, really when I'm brought into these companies like a Google or an AWS or Microsoft, it's usually because they want to establish a new business or the business is broken and they want to fix it. I don't do as well when you just tell me to come and run a business. Like, you must be wanting exponential growth or you want to do something new. That's really exciting for me. So when I know I'm done is when the business is established. We have the processes, we have customer trust. The business is growing year over year and
everybody's fine.
And everybody's good. Then I can now move on to my next challenge. So it does look like I've worked in a lot of these companies a lot, but sometimes they do need somebody that will just come and fix the business, and that's what I enjoy. So even now with founders or small business owners or enterprises or public sector, it's when you say you have a problem that really excites me. But I would say that the threats are different to businesses depending on the sector, whether it's public sector, whether it's enterprise or small business or even startups. But I will just zero in on the one thing that I feel makes the difference, and that's having a business that is customer obsessed. If you just focus on the person that has told you, I will pay money for your product, and you continue to invest in providing a better and better product, you would build a better business. It will also let you know when you need to pivot because you are listening so closely to your customers, right? And then it helps you put your funds in the right places. So one of the threats is that we look for short-term value. It's almost like how posts go viral on social media. Yeah. Some people want their products to go viral, and that it shouldn't really be the focus entirely. Yes, we want it to grow exponentially, but you want a product that actually delivers value to your customer, okay? So we see a lot of tech people that are building products without customers, and then they finish the product and they'll say, build it, they will come. I really don't believe in that at all. Building it and they will come. I really believe build with them and they will stay, because you want to retain your customers. You want to retain your best customers, and then you want to retain your best high value customers. So that lifetime value of your customer becomes such a key KPI. So I think if we can get back to making the business customer obsessed, and one of the places that really helped me elevate my knowledge around this was Amazon Web Services, because truly that company, Amazon, is customer obsessed. Everything is about making sure the customer gets what they need.
True.
Yeah.
I can attest to this.
Yeah.
That's very true. Thank you. All right, as someone that's risen through the ranks, for emerging sales professionals or professionals that are in revenue-focused roles in general, what are the gaps that you've seen, right, between the emerging ones and then the ones that are very skilled and they can survive in any company, high-powered people? What are the gaps that you've seen, and what are the solutions that you would give to these things?
So more like the talent that I've seen in some of these big companies, and then the talent that we see outside. Is that like the question?
The people that are just, maybe like junior level, moving to mid-level, and then now they see the seniors, and then they want to be that. What's like the gap?
Like what the gap is.
Yes, because hiring for salespeople. I'm going through it. I went through it last year. I'm going through it again because we're like expanding the team. And you see a
It's a lot. It's a lot. I actually say that when you're hiring a salespeople, recognize that no matter how fantastic the hiring process is, you may not get a good salesperson.
Sure.
Yeah. So you bake in probation, you break all those things you mentioned, you bake in all those things to make sure if it is a wrong fit, you can correct very quickly. Right? Yeah. Let me put it this way, because I've hired for companies and I've hired some really amazing talent and I haven't done so well in hiring, right? The gap usually is emotional intelligence, I must be honest.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
Because flashback, I agree with you.
Yeah. And you would ask them very little things. There's almost like a spirit of, for the Nigerian listeners, anyhowness that we have these days. And I almost feel it's because there is so much knowledge out there that is easily consumable. So you can learn how to, for example, if you're an SDR, sales development rep, you can learn how to use Apollo. You can learn how to use Clay. You can learn how to use HubSpot and create a lead gen engine. But then you don't know how to pitch to a customer in a personalized manner.
Soft skills.
The soft skills are just missing. But because the skill is there in creating a lead gen engine, the soft skills just falls through the cracks. So something that happened to me just this week is we do help businesses set up their sales teams, and we are supporting to build out a coaching structure for their SDRs. And there's an SDR that had a meeting with a startup, and he put together a pitch deck. And I said, who are you meeting? He said, he's meeting the co-founder of the startup. I said, what tangible things have happened to him recently that you want to refer to in the conversation? He didn't know.
Okay.
Yeah. He didn't tailor, there was no personalization because they're so used to personalization being done through tools. So you personalize during your email scripts, first name, all those name. And then you personalize based on industry, but as an individual. And if you understand as a salesperson two key things. The first thing is your customer said a prayer to find a product, a service, a solution to a problem they have. You are an answer to prayer. So you must position yourself correctly. The second thing is the customer is essentially concerned about themselves and their business. So you have to respond to that, right? You don't come in and you start putting 15 slides about your company vision, your company mission, because the customer has a real challenge they need solving. If you have those two things top of mind, you will now think to yourself, what are the soft skills I need to be able to answer the prayer correctly? And then how to make sure the person knows it's all about them. And there's a great model that I always encourage salespeople that work with me to think of, and that's the challenger sales model. And the challenger sales model is actually based on the fact that customers are not always right. And it's something so contrary to what we always say, the customer is always right. No, the customer is not always right. But you have the answer to the prayer and you understand the customer. So what you are doing now is you have the soft skills to be able to position the solution in a way that resonates
with them.
Clear communication, right? Being able to understand, put yourself in the person's shoes, empathy, all those kind of soft skills. So when you come into the call, the customer feels this is the partner I've been praying about, and this is the product that will solve the problem.
No problem. I always tell my sales team that when you're approaching somebody, first off, realize that you don't matter in the grand scheme of things.
Thank you.
You're like they're like sand in the entire universe. Like it's not you. So when you position things that way, your focus changes.
Of course.
So when you don't respond to my email, I don't take it personally. I don't feel like they don't need it. They could actually need it, but then when they open the email, because they're like high-level people, something happened. A team needed their help and things escalated so fast. My day, there's a day I was going to order food at work, and I got a call from one of the teams in the company, and things just escalated from there. Do you know, from 9 a.m., I remember at 2 p.m., I was actually trying to order food when this thing started. Wow. Imagine the person you're reaching out to, that's their life. Or it's a female founder who just gave birth and just coming back to work. Yeah. I mean, they open your email at night and then the kid just ran. When you put all of these things in your head, then you'll be able to design your follow-up in a way that puts these things into consideration. While you don't have to keep going at people just because you really know, but when you have these things, you'll be able to strike a fine balance between, oh, maybe they don't like me. So what if I never saw your email? I rank my email based on how important it is to my day. In that moment, I have very little time. I literally work. So yeah, so this is a very important perspective. I feel like a lot of sales people to know how. So I completely agree with you. Very interesting. If we're talking to founders in Africa, because founders in Africa, they're not the same as founders in the US. I saw, I think a VC person on Twitter that posted something around when you're pitching in America, you're pitching vision. When you're pitching in Africa, you're pitching traction. So life is different here.
Yeah.
So,
but it wasn't always like this, let's be frank. In the beginning, it was vision. You could wear your black
but everybody is trying to hustle.
Yeah, no,
Money.
We're going through a funding winter, so you must show traction. Yeah.
So in a situation like that you're advising the startup on their sales strategy, how would you advise an African, or like, let me say a Nigerian founder differently when it comes to sales strategy that helps them to stay ahead, you know, to stay competitive, right, in their industry? I know you had mentioned being obsessed with your customers, very important, because sometimes pivoting is very hard, it's very painful, and sometimes it can be an emotional decision. Not because there are no logical reasons to back it up. It's not easy. Something was your baby, you dreamt about it, you went at it. 3 years, you put in all your sweat, you probably didn't pay yourself a salary. And all of a sudden, that dream has to change completely to something else. It's not very easy. But then listening to your customers really helps. Yeah. But then, so we get that part of listening. What are the other strategies that would help founders in this climb to stay competitive?
So, like, I almost wanted to say, were you dreaming about the product or was it a nightmare? But that's an aside. Yeah, because some people go build things nobody asks for.
I can relate to that.
Yeah. Like there's somebody that pitched me an idea yesterday about this travel solution, and I kept on asking, which feedback did you receive? What data do you have? What insights do you know? What secret do you know that is informing you that this is something a large volume of people want? And there wasn't anything, right? So to your point, I think it's the stage of the startup. I really do feel so. What a growth stage startup is looking at and what an early stage startup is looking at is vastly different. Just to your point on pivoting, I think pivoting can be hard if you're not building with, but you're building for. That is when pivoting can be very challenging. Because if we look at Instagram, they pivoted.
True.
If we look, and the pivots weren't hard, because what I see sometimes is when people are building out the product, they build out the dream in their head. But number one, have you done the research?
Yeah.
You know, because the research is what informs you whether there's really a market for this. And you do want to launch a product that's able to bring revenue from day one. You may not build revenue from day one, but the possibility is there. It means there are people that can pay for this, right? And then the other part is, once you have your product, don't put 15 of the features, put 3. And then test it with your ideal customer profile that you identified during your research, and then get feedback. Do you like it? And they'll be like, no, I don't want to connect to people like this. I would rather swipe. It changes the next 10 features you had planned.
True.
So you're pivoting,
true.
But it's not that big, massive pivot because you're building with, right? And we always have the metric of, if it's a B2B, for example, high value product, get your first 10, get your next 100, get your next 300. There's a founder I'm working with, and he just launched this product, amazing product. I actually believe this product will do really, really well, but he is a product person, he's not a salesperson, and he's afraid of sales, which brings me to the next point, is I told him, okay, now let's do our GTM, our go-to-market strategy. And he's like, no, Napa, I think there's another feature my users. I said, who sent you? Like, which of your, I want you to bring out your list of existing customers. I want you to give me the names of who asked you for this feature. And he couldn't, because he just wants to stay in his comfort zone. So for founders, you do need to step out, and you need to be the first salesperson for your product. Don't go and hire a head of sales. Don't go and hire an SDR, I beg of you, or an account executive in the early stages. You need to sell the product yourself. And what the feedback you're getting from your customers, you put it in a document, which is your playbook. This is where you list the common objections. This is where you list what customers are saying, your use cases, list it. Then hire a junior salesperson or two and hand that playbook over to them and learn how they are now using that playbook to sell more. And they're adding to the sales playbook. Then you hire a head of sales. All of this should be data-driven. Even if you're tracking just 2 KPIs or 3 key performance indicators, it could be your conversion rates, or it could be volume of deals, or it could be value of deals, but you're tracking something and you're improving something. So for founders to compete, you need to build your sales muscle. This is just the true story. You can't be afraid of sales. Stop harassing your salespeople. Stop putting targets that are not based on data and goals that are not based on data. There was one sheet I saw that literally the SDR is going to have like maybe 50 calls a day to hit that target. No. But yes, it happens because you don't have the knowledge of sales. That's just the problem. I also know a startup that has 3 people in total, and they want to hire me as head of sales, fractional. I said it's an overkill. What you need to be doing now is meeting customers, getting feedback, documenting. That's what you need to be doing. And you, without realizing it, by recognizing the customer buying journey, you're mapping your sales process to the customer buying journey. So by the time you're bringing somebody on board,
you have a playbook.
Yes. And can you imagine that person saying that this is the objection the customer is having? You're able to say yes. It's actually the product roadmap. Maybe what we can do is make the product roadmap available for our high net worth clients. You've pivoted a bit, but it is slight because you're building with. So yeah, I mean, depending on the stage, the founder needs to build their skills. They need to make data-driven decisions, focus on those customers that mean the most to your business. Avoid vanity metrics with your life. Just those metrics that you think VCs want to see.
Likes.
because now traction is real for VCs. I'm part of a firm, a VC fund, and they used to bring me in at the end when they deployed capital to talk about go-to-market strategies and distribution models. Now they bring me in the beginning and they're like, Napa, can this really work in market? So VCs' mindsets are changing. Traction is important for us now, but it has to be real. And traction is, unfortunately for founders, is no longer the black t-shirt with a colorful logo and telling us how you were in a train station in Paddington, and oh my God, the name just came out from the sky, you know. Oh gosh.
Yeah, so dramatic.
No, that's not what we're talking about now. We're talking about like, how long does it take you to acquire a customer? How much value does a customer bring? How many customers like this exist in the world that we can actually look at? How soon can you scale? Those are the kind of, how soon can you 10x revenue? So yeah,
what are the problems, the validating solution you claim you're providing?
Yeah. And sometimes product market fit is a journey. Like, you have to really accept that I know a startup that's in 8 countries in Africa and still don't believe they've achieved product market fit.
Wow.
Yeah. So they're building with. You can already see he's building with his customers. He's not building for. So they're giving him feedback, and he's continually taking that feedback and improving his processes.
For key leaders that are struggling with their sales teams, right? Because I know about companies that are extremely struggling with sales, especially companies in the very intense industries, high ticket services, high ticket solutions, something that isn't just a random person on the street. Right? And for situations like that, it's a bit tricky because it's not just any salesperson that can handle that. Right? Now, for people that are in that, situation and they're finding it so hard, for key leaders of organizations that are struggling to have a sales team where they don't have maybe one superstar or like 2 super. Of course, not everybody will be intense, high performance, but you really want to have it for services like that, or for product like that. You really want to have a sales team where everybody is solid, but then you cannot have some high flyers. That's fine, but everybody has to be solid. But then they've been finding it so hard to achieve this. For people like that, how would they navigate according to you? So,
like I said in the beginning, I like fixing broken teams. There was a time I was given a broken sales team. Absolutely broken. Like, I don't think there was anybody that had hit 100% of target.
No.
The business was declining. If a business is declining, it's even better the business isn't growing. That means it's dying, but we don't know yet. But this one, the business was actually declining.
It's like alarms going off already.
Alarms everywhere. So the first thing is, don't rush to fix the problem. You really need to sit down, create a 90-day plan. Now, what I would recommend in the first 30 days is to understand what kind of sales team you really need, right? And this is where you analyze key data points like your pipeline. So look at a month that was really good for the business, or a quarter that was really good for the business. What were the key metrics that you saw? How many leads were generated? What was the closure rate? Get information about your business without the people. All right? Really look at your business forensically. I call it revenue mechanics. You actually go under the hood of your revenue engine and you now look at your data. What you will find then is you may see that you have too many account managers. You may see that you don't have enough people that are able to close deals. You may see that actually your closing rate is fabulous, but the problem you have is your lead cycle is too long, right? So based on that, you're going to understand where you need help. So maybe if your lead cycle is too long, who can help you there is marketing. It's not actually the salespeople. You now need to identify where the interventions are. Once you've done that, you know what is wrong with your engine. You have a clear idea. This is the problem. These are where I can potentially fix. I also encourage you to look at some sales experiments you can do. So you may decide that one of the things I want to do is to increase the number of high quality leads. I'm going to train one of my salespeople as an SDR and move them there, especially maybe somebody that's not doing well. After you've assessed the business, that's when you now assess your drivers, the people that are running the sales engine. These are your sales teams. This is where you will do 360 interviews, reviews. You look at past performance data. You really need to understand them, understand their personal situations. Is there somebody that is struggling because of a personal issue? Then after that, you are going to decide who is going on a performance improvement plan. And a performance improvement plan is great because it gives the person direction to say, these are the things you need to do to be able to stay in the company. Do you want to stay? Do you want to go? If they say they want to stay, you work through that plan with them to make sure if you're seeing that the problem is, let's say, dropping off, customers dropping off after a certain lead point, maybe at a demo point, you see a huge dip. It might be that then you are going to now sit into demos where you're seeing the dip to see who is the person that cannot convert after a demo. Do we need to bring in the technical team? And then once you do that, you now come in after the 90 days. A lot of startups don't have 90 days, so you can do this in 30 days if you wanna. But the whole idea is the engine, the people, then the plan to fix it. Then you now ruthlessly execute using data. That's what you now move into. And another thing I say is that you need to fix your hiring because talent is out there.
Very true.
Very true. So you hire based on culture. Though people kick against culture interviews now, they say it is not inclusive. I still greatly believe in culture interviews because we need people that can actually thrive in the current culture that is set up. And then the other part is a task interview. Now, ChatGPT makes task interviews very easy these days. So you tell somebody to put a lead strategy where you see the weakness for so and so, and then they will output ChatGPT's file. You now peel the onion in the interview. How do you do this? Okay, so if the customer does that, what would you do? And you're noting the answers. But before the interview, the job description now becomes important. You see why it's good to have your engine running, so you know where the problems are, you know where you want to invest. You now draft the job description in accordance to that, and you know what skills you need. So it's very multifaceted. Then apart from that, as a leader, you build the right culture, a high-performing culture. Yes, that also gives people the ability to live a good life. So it's not high-performing, and then you're sending emails or text messages at 2 a.m. Why didn't this close? Let's avoid that. Hashtag horrible bosses behavior in 2025. Let's
taking at 10 p.m.
You understand? I need the PO tomorrow. Come on now. Is it that you're not planning your revenue cycles really well as a leader? So you have to balance that, and you would have a great team, I promise you. But you would never have a perfect team, and that is where the continuous training comes in. I know it's a very verbose answer, but it's something I know people struggle with, building that high-performing sales team.
Yeah, it is a huge struggle for a lot of companies, and not just even small companies, right? Mid-market companies, even some enterprise companies. Just the good thing with enterprise companies, they build the relationship with the market. right? They build a relationship market, so it's for them. It's easy. Even if you are not so good a person as a salesperson, as long as you can just follow the script and do fine, you're good. But then it's a situation that I see a lot of companies struggle with, and I love that you mentioned hiring. Right, because most of them are saying, oh, I need a better sales team. We just focus on, PIP, we focused on, let's do training. But then the issue is from the hiring. I've had this sort of situation where I had to go back and actually check the CV the person submitted to, and like, oh, okay. But because it was an inherited team, I'm like, okay. So going forward, we're not making this kind of mistakes again. That's what I mentioned. And then the JD, people underestimate the importance of having a
job
JD
description.
You just go to ChatGPT and then get something, or go online and then get something and send it like, oh, this is JD. But then you don't really look at the JD and look at your company current struggles. Look at the requirement of your organization and ensure that it aligns. And the person that is coming on board tick those boxes, right? So I love that you also mentioned marketing, because there's usually a lot of, what around also, but this is very important. Marketing and sales are constantly butting heads in almost every organization. We used to have that issue at my place as well, and until we're able to, find a structure that allows, them to think like brothers and sisters. And they are brothers and sisters. They're not the same thing. For people that hire for sales and marketing in one person, don't do that again. They're not the same thing, right? But then they're constantly at loggerheads, and it's not supposed to be. Because for you to have a proper revenue operation, your sales and marketing has to, in fact, must be aligned. Then you have other parts of it. Now, for marketing, sometimes they have a different view to how the business works, right? Which in some ways is nice, is valid, is amazing. But then in some ways, it's what's the word? I'm looking for the word. They're separated from the reality of the business. And a number of companies deal with this, where salespeople and marketing people will have this old campaign, and then they have all these leads. And the part of sales, I suppose, like, there's nobody that's useful on this list. Why are you giving me a list of people that I'm just wasting my time? Situations like this, how do you fix it? So there are two situations. Number one, marketing is doing an amazing job, but the amazing job is not really interpreting to success with sales team. But and also situation whereby they are so disconnected from business reality.
So to your first point, we've lived this life, so it's true. When you say they're doing amazing, right? Unless it's translating to revenue, it's not. So I always say the two things that should be top of mind when you're kind of building out your revenue operations. And your revenue team should have marketing, it should have sales, it should have customer success, and then it should have your analytics, your data operations, and then you kind of are settled. Don't try and merge two roles together. Maybe you can automate one role with tools until you have enough funds if you're just starting out to invest in a hire. But I always say that what I do is, part of my leadership team is always the head of marketing. And that head of marketing would have two goals. One goal would be revenue. How much revenue came from marketing activities? And the second one would be marketing qualified leads. How many actually convert to real opportunities? And those two would align sales and marketing faster than you can say anything. So it's not about having a lot of conversations and workshops. Let's work together. We're brothers. You're my sister. No, because you would find that marketing will start asking salespeople, we need feedback on the leads. Because if they see that the target is for 60% of marketing leads to convert into opportunities, you will notice that they won't be going to certain places. They won't do certain events. They won't do certain programs because they want the 60% to be able to hit their target. And of course, you tie compensation to it as well. So that 60%, what would happen is the marketing person would now start asking for feedback from salespeople. But I sent you this lead, you didn't close it. You didn't move it to opportunity. What went wrong? Then they'll be looking for the leads they have. How do we move them up the pipeline? That's when they'll start doing marketing intervention activities, re-engagement, lead nurturing, all those things, because they need to hit their number. And then revenue as well. I am a big believer in marketing getting commission. and bonuses, like salespeople. So if you have a target for you to hit revenue from marketing activities and you get a bonus, it will also motivate behavior. So this is what I tell business owners. Targets, goals, commissions, bonuses are what you use to drive behavior and culture. That's what you use. So if you want people to focus more on customer satisfaction, then your CSAT scores will be something you bring into your performance reviews. You understand? So that's what you bring in. You don't have conversations where you start preaching to people and maybe in some cases shouting. I hear people shout at their teams. I don't understand why. When you have data,
just focus on the process.
Process, systems, data, rewards, bonuses, you put everything in place and you would have a very nice life instead of always trying to drive synergies between two teams. Give them the same goals, reward good work, make sure you set the right targets and you'll be good.
Interesting. I asked this question particularly because I know marketing people are always fighting on Twitter.
I know, marketing and salespeople. Marketing people believe salespeople don't understand what they're going to. And salespeople are like, we are the ones that bring in the money that pays your salary.
And marketing people are like, why is that I always get first to get fired when something happens? Yes. So yeah, I love that we did this. You're a founder now, A Bit for Balance. And you've been helping, companies fix their sales processes, doing trainings, doing things. And also, I think founder at Placid.
Yes.
Very interesting. How's founder life treating you?
So it's been really exciting. I've loved it. But I still remember a time that I was moderating a panel on the mental health of founders and entrepreneurs. And I kept on talking about how easy it is to be able to structure your life, build systems, tools, and I look back at that panel and I'm so grateful nobody, asked me to leave the panel, because being a founder and an entrepreneur is a different kind of way of living. Like, you don't have weekends. This is the truth. You genuinely have to do that work-life integration because you are doing everything. And there's a lot I used to take for granted working in the companies I worked for. Like, you never had to do an assessment of which CRM tool to install. I never had to set up a CRM. It was just available, the best of the best.
That's good at working in enterprise. You work in startup, you do the assessment.
You have to do the assessment, and then you have to make sure you set it up correctly. So I think, when you are not in the entrepreneurship or founder world, you tend to not realize the amount of work you need to do. And you have to, in the beginning, I'm a big advocate, you have to do everything yourself.
True.
So you can learn. And then as you are learning, you can now bring somebody else to support you when you've learned. So I think it's been a good balance of excitement and very hard reality checks. But looking at the work we've managed to do in less than a year, it's just been amazing, honestly.
I'm not surprised. If you don't know, Napa is the founder of Beauty Balance. It's a sales company that I'll call it a sales company that helps companies to fix their sales strategy, employee training, all the works, and also for Placid, they help with development and things. And looking at your life as a C-suite person, your life as an entrepreneur, and your life now as an entrepreneur, you're still doing the same thing, literally, in the sense that you've always liked to build and fix things. And then even the businesses that you've gone on to start is to build things.
It's to build stuff,
and fix
that
things.
Works,
Very interesting. It feels like your entrepreneur life, the employee life is a practice for, it feels that way. And to round up, what would you, if you look back years down the line, when you just started your career, that time that you graduated and you look at the world and say, okay, what's next for me? If you look back to that day, what advice would you go back to give yourself that you believe that a lot of business professionals would benefit from today?
Because I live in a life of reflection, there's something I say a lot. I say, by the grace of God, there is no goal I've set for myself since I was 15 that I haven't achieved. And it's a true story, right? So I've always been very intentional in the way I have lived, my life. I've been very focused on making sure I die empty.
Yes. That makes us the same thing.
Yes. Very important. So what I would say is, whether you're in business, whether you're personal, whether you're in career, you need to really evaluate your life on a regular basis and then look at the things you want to achieve in 5 years and put the right things in place today to achieve those things. So I was having a conversation with someone this week as well, and he said, life is so busy, he doesn't have time to do self-reflection, he doesn't have time to plan, he doesn't have time to put things in place that can help him get better day to day. And he said, is there anything I can say to motivate him? And I said, get away from motivation. You should be disciplined. And the only reason you're not disciplined is because it's not important to you. So now you need to come back to being self-aware, right? Maybe what you're chasing is not important to you, and it's okay. So there are many concepts you can use. Ikigai is one, the intersection of your passion, your values. But like, really own your life, man, right? And live a life not only on this side of eternity, but on the next side of eternity as well. Because we tend to focus on the 90-something years here. And for the people that know me, they know I'm a devout Christian. My faith is the anchor in my life. So in a nutshell, you see that life you want to live, you can get to it. Use what you have to build the life you want. Again, one of the quotes, I say my quote that I use a lot. That is my advice. So stop looking for motivation. Stop following YouTube people that told you that they used a spoon of rice or beans and they built restaurants in Japan and Korea and in London. Leave motivation. Motivation is a great way to get started.
Yeah.
But become self-aware. So you know really why can't you get stuff done in your life. Fix it. And fix it sooner than later. And then do daily actions that can get you closer to your goal and your vision for your life. It is possible. I promise you it's possible. You are going to pivot. Life is going to hit you in ways and you're going to have to change your pivot. But because you are living such an intentional life, those pivots will not shake you. They will not break you. They will literally make you. That's kind of the premise of how I started my life chasing goals.
Very interesting. I would have loved for us to have like a session where you're able to break down your sales trainings, but then that's what Build to Balance is for. So,
yeah,
it's been super nice doing this. I had a very fun time. A lot of things that I could relate to, a lot of things that I learned. I think my favorite part of this is the 2x2. I'm never going to forget it. And I meet one person a week.
Oh yeah.
It's been a very fun session and I'm glad you have an amazing energy. And I'm so excited that we're able to do this. Thank you so much everybody that has followed this from beginning to the end. Drop your comments. I want to read your thoughts on all that you have to say about this episode. Like and share with your friends. Don't be selfish. If you haven't subscribed, use the bell at the bottom right away and do that. See you next time.